Alright, it's time for a quick video talking about the Netflix original anime, Way of the Househusband, an adaptation of the manga of the same name, which, to my surprise, was actually first adapted into a live-action series produced by Nippon TV. We follow Tatsu, a former yakuza boss who held the title of the Immortal Dragon for his skills. However, he retired and, as the title suggests, became a house husband. In the anime, we follow his daily life as a house husband, and for the most part, I found the show to be alright. To get the quick things out of the way about the show, I love the voice acting. Both the Japanese and English voice acting is fantastic. No actor sounds out of place, in my opinion. The intro is great, though my problem with it is that it's primarily stills. I mean, there is some animation to it. Don't get me wrong, all you have to do is look at the screen, but it's just characters being pushed around, slight lip syncing, just like shapes moving around, and I don't really count that pixelated thing of Tatsu riding a bike, because I actually wish the characters were, well, fully animated, but we'll get to that. I really love the premise to the show, an ex-yakuza member quitting the family and finding a family of his own. If this was a drama, it would be him dealing with this old gang trying to get him to come back, and trying to hide his past from his wife. But since this is a comedy, Tatsu doesn't really hide it. In fact, he's kinda stuck in yakuza mode. This is where the main driving force in the comedy comes from. Tatsu stays in overdrive throughout the whole entire show, and I love it. For as short as the series is, and especially since the episodes are very, very short in length, I find it to be a decent show. Characters tend to go along with Tatsu's insanity, while some, mainly his wife, is there to make sure he doesn't go overboard. It's a nice show that does help redeem Netflix for its biggest mistake. However, I do have problems. First up is, well, its presentation. The show is extremely stiff, a big complaint that people had when the show was announced, and I have to agree with it. Now, from what little I read of the manga, the show needed to keep the energy that it had. You can't just take the manga panels and color them, which kinda looks like they did, even though they have very similar art styles. Obviously, manga and anime have different styles from line work, coloring, and its base presentation. What works in manga, comics, or graphic novels can't transition that well into animation or live action. The biggest example is Fullmetal Alchemist. I'm sticking with Brotherhood for this example because there isn't a scene like this in the original because of its more original take on the source material. When Ed meets the truth, there's a fourth wall break in the manga where the truth's arm went through the panels, showing that it doesn't play by the normal rules. Obviously, when the second adaptation was being made, the animators couldn't really do the same, unless they wanted to send in this specially packaged overlay for the TV to be placed on as soon as the scene popped up. Why the hell am I reminded of Fahrenheit 451? Well, regardless, since they couldn't really do that, the animators decided to warp the world instead, by doing this.
I am called by many names. I am the world. I am the universe. I am God. I am truth. I am all. I am one. And I am also you.
It really worked for what it was, showing that the rules with this thing is completely different than with the normal person. Here, it feels like they're just, again, taking the manga panels, coloring them, and adding some lip sync. Now, for more energetic scenes, they do indeed add some action lines, but that doesn't really substitute for, well, actual energetic animation. It just makes everything so stiff, like the volleyball skit. It doesn't have that kick that it should, mainly because there isn't that much speed to it. Since you can read any kind of comics at your own pace, the abundance of action lines, splash particles, at least I think that's what they're called, and sound effects, along with the dynamic posing, is what gives this chapter its energy. In comparison to the anime, characters are way too stiff, as if they were cardboard cutouts, being pushed around and shapeshifts into a new pose in an instant. Hell, I'm actually reminded of that one episode of The Amazing World of Gumball where the writers wrote an episode about the background characters. Unlike here, it was only done for a quick couple of jokes while it's constant throughout the whole entire show. My only other problem with the show is the episode length. With the given time for each chapter adaptation, it feels like the show was trying to blow through all of the chapters instead of just expanding on each individual chapter. Kind of like how Power Rangers Megaforce blew through all of the Goseiger and Gokaiger footage instead of just fleshing out its characters in the world.
Stop it. I told you, a ranger never lets go of his weapon.
Now, each manga chapter is short, so they can't really expand it that much, and yet the live action show was able to make each episode an hour long, including commercials, so I'm not really sure what happened here. Now, don't get me wrong, I still laughed at these scenes and smiled while watching it. It's just, the show is undercooked. I enjoy my time, but if I had to rate the show, I guess I would give it a 4. I see the making of a great show, however, its stiff presentation and its speed and adaptation in each chapter leaves for an underwhelming show in my opinion. At this point in time, the anime adaptation of The Way of the Househusband is only available on Netflix due to it being a Netflix original. For alternate recommendations, I give The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya and I guess Persona 4 since Golden did get re-released on Steam. In The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, we follow our title character in her daily life, with the series being told by the point of view of another character named Kyon. In their reluctant friendship, they form the SOS Brigade, and recruit an alien, a time traveler, and an Esper. Trust me, that makes a hell of a lot more sense in context, but they're there for a specific reason. In Persona 4, we follow the nameless protagonist as he goes to live with his uncle in the town of Inaba. During his stay, strange murders start occurring, and with one lead inside of the TV, the protagonist and his friends investigate these events with their power of persona, the ability to summon the many gods and demons within oneself. Between these two, I think there's something you would like if you did not like the adaptation of The Way of the Househusband. Maybe one day I'll talk about the live action show, but speaking of Persona, I gotta continue working on that marathon. Strikers has been boring so far, but it's better to get the small fry done than tackling 8 80-hour behemoths. Why the hell did I decide to do this again? Oh. Regardless, I'll see y'all in the next video.
Do it. If you're gonna shoot, aim for my heart! Mine.